A society grows great when old men plant trees they will never enjoy the shade of. This is a Greek proverb. It wasn't written by anyone we actually know, not a Socrates or Plato or Aristotle. We pull it out today to remind ourselves of our moral imperative to help the next generation we won't know. Men, women, children we have never met. To invest not just in ourselves, but in our society, our nation, our civilization. When we discuss these things, we are often confused by the words ours, or words like nation, society, country, state, or civilization. What are these concepts we speak of? Who does it apply to? Are the Irish part of this? The Brazilians, the Chinese, the Africans? Who is part of our civilization, our people, our nation? Who will inherit the investments we make today? Are we comfortable investing in a future where those who sit in the shade of that tree aren't of our people? So this Greek quote being pulled out by Americans who are of a different genetic makeup on a different continent 3,000 years later being spoken like it was their father who first said it. Why is this a thing? Why do we assume the Romans and the Greeks are of our civilization? Why not quote Cyrus the Great or Hammurabi? Why not the people of the Qing dynasty? There are most definitely rules to this game, in groups and out groups, we all inherently know. These ideas being approached and looked at are destructive to the turn our civilization has taken, the cosmopolitan rules we have developed. There's another Greek word, cosmopolitan. Cosmos, it means universal. Poly means people, universal people. Have you ever considered whether a lot of these terms were pejoratives for people even back then? So why the Greeks and the Romans? Well, for one, their civilizations created the ones we live in directly. It's in our language, our common parlance, their form of government, wisdom, law, military tactics, philosophy. I was watching the video on The Matrix yesterday, and a YouTuber pulled out Plato's allegory of the cave. 3,000 years, and we still use Plato to explain concepts we can't fully comprehend today. This knowledge he passed down to people he couldn't possibly imagine being born is known as civilizational capital. Men who create or build or leave a legacy that surpasses themselves, that may or may not benefit them in their time. This concept is tied in with a lot of others, which we have to discuss, as well as things like culture, religions, institutions, nations, and states. Let's start this at the very beginning. At the very bottom, you have a man and a woman. This is where the concept of Adam and Eve come from. It's the basic essence of where we all come from. This man and woman copulate and create a child. The man sees his child and woman and wants to protect them and provide for them, keep them warm and safe. So he builds a structure to protect them from the rain, elements, and predators. He must eat, so he must hunt. Taking down game is hard, so he decides to work with other men to hunt and shares his meat with them and their families. Soon, there's too many humans and not enough game. They can't hunt enough food. So some split off and create their own tribes. They take with them the knowledge or culture that was developed with them of hunting and shelter and cooperation. The tribes become a nation of people with shared culture and skills. Soon they expand until they run into another group who have been going through the same process but from a different area. Their way of building is different. They're taller or shorter. They have been hunting different animals, speak a different language. They are a different nation with a different culture. The tools they build to kill animals are different. They have addles. The tribe who is part of the original nation defeat the new tribe and steal their women and tools. These tools and knowledge get folded into the original nation, and each father teaches his son and other sons of the tribe this new skill. The culture evolves. Soon the nation is interrupted by an invader who brings livestock and agriculture. This invader cannot be defeated by the original people. Their knowledge and skills offer calories and cooperation that surpasses the original host nation. The original host nation has two choices, evolve or die. So they choose to evolve and start agriculture. This is not universal, though, as some live on land where farming is not conducive to survival, so there are still pockets of the nation who still hunt. During this whole time, the people have been developing beliefs to understand the world. These religions help to bind the people together and give hope in hard times when game and birds migrate. They are passed down with the rest of the knowledge from father to son, from mother to daughter. Soon with the agriculture, men build silos to store grain, permanent villages. They pass from one generation to the next and then cities. The men build aqueducts to irrigate and bring water. The men who build these things are paid in a currency. Courts of law are set up, permanent rules established that are followed, not because it's fair or it helps the rulers constantly, but because permanent rules allow for peace and allow for every man to live in perpetuity. We have been planting trees in which we will never sit under. The people have been doing this, following rules, and even though it may be easier to live as a thief or a savage, because we want our sons and daughters to inherit a world without such thieves or savages. The government that was formed, who enforces rules, continues to do so over and over. The government is no longer a faith-based system where you hope the king will find in your favor. There is trust that it will follow the rules because it has time and again. Men come along named Plato and Socrates, Caesar, Aurelius, Napoleon, Charlemagne, Washington, Tesla, Ford, Joe Montana, and finally Pnoid. We often forget that there has been much sacrifice for us to be here. Today we see the system collapsing that was built with many men's sacrifices. The squandering of the civilizational capital is a result of forgetting or trying to disregard the base, which is one man and one woman creating a child. This was all done for that simple thing, nothing more. Each nation working for the man, woman, and child, built by the man, woman, and child of that nation, not of other nations. Once you begin importing other men and women, you start caring about other nations' men and women and children. You leave the men and women of your children out in the cold and in the elements while you care for those of another nation. Men and women stop creating children. We all look and say, why are we working? Why are we contributing? What are we building? Who is this for? This doesn't help me get a woman or a children. Today, the average number of children a woman has in her 30s is 0. We've forgotten what all this is about. It's about our family, our tribe, or nation. We are not cosmopolitans. We are not universal. We are, I'm not really sure. I know what I am. I'm an Appalachian, an Italian, an inheritor of the Romans and the Greeks and the Egyptians and Carthaginians. I know what I am. What are we, though? I think we need to get an answer to this question so we can care about our tribe and do what's best for it. Figure out who we are planting these trees for.